Hello everyone, welcome back to another Stitches and Scribbles tutorial. Today we're going to be working on the Tiefling wrap inspired by Dungeons & Dragons. So when I designed this pattern, I knew I wanted it to be an asymmetrical shawl that would have a really long, thin side to kind of emulate a tiefling's tail, or at least based on what I saw in the illustrations. Today I'm using Yarn Bee Brushworks in the color purple. I do have 3 of these. You can see that I already caked this one up to make it a little bit easier to work with. And I am using size 5.5 millimeter circular needles. This pattern is going to be kind of on the lacy side, so if you want to go up or down needle sizes for your preference, that should still work. And let's get started. I think that's it for the introduction, so let's jump right in. I'm going to start with a slip knot and cast on 2. Row 1 is just going to be to knit both of those stitches to give us a base to start with. Easy. We're also going to knit all the way across for row 2. Again, just to kind of give us that base for the one corner. Okay, row 3 is where we're going to start our first increase. So for row 3, you're going to knit 1, yarn over, and knit 1. So now you should have 3 loops on your needle. For row 4, we are going to knit all the way across again. 1, 2, 3. You can see we've got a little eyelet forming there. That's going to be the start of our lace pattern. For row 5, you're going to knit 2 together, which would be a decrease, but we're going to add a yarn over and knit 1 so that we still have the same number of loops on the needle. And row 6, we're going to knit all the way across. For row 7, we're going to knit 1, yarn over, and knit 2. Row 8 is going to be a knit all the way across, which is 4 stitches. So knit 4. And you can see those eyelets really starting to form from the lace pattern. Row 9, and we're still in our setup rows here. Eventually we will get to a repeat. Row 9, you are going to knit 2 together and then yarn over, knit 2 together, whoops, this yarn splits a little bit, and then you're going to knit 2. Row 10 is also going to be a knit all the way across. Row 11, we're going to knit 1, yarn over, knit 2 together, yarn over, and knit 1. Row 12, knit all of our stitches. Got that tail starting. Row 13, we're going to knit 2 together, yarn over, knit 2 together, got that splitting yarn there, yarn over, and knit 1. Row 14, we're going to knit all the way across again. Should have something that looks like this. Row 15 is going to start our repeat. So row 15, you knit 1, yarn over. Any row that starts with a knit 1 yarn over instead of a knit 2 yarn over is going to be an increase row. Increase rows are going to happen every 4 rows so that we have a really skinny tail to our shawl. So for row 15, we knitted 1, we yarned over. Now we're going to knit 2 together, yarn over. And when you get to the end of the row, if there's 2 left, you just knit them both normally without a yarn over. Row 16, we're going to knit all the way across. Every other row is going to be knit all the way across. Row 17, so since we did an increase row last time we were going this direction, this one is not going to have an increase. So row 17 starts with a, whoops, if I could pick them up, knit 2 together, yarn over so that we don't increase, and you're going to repeat the knit 2 together, yarn over, until your last 1 or 2 stitches. If there's 2, you knit them both. If there's 1, you just knit the 1. Row 18 is a knit all the way across. Row 19 is another increase row, because remember it's every 4. So we're going to knit 1, yarn over, that gives us that increase, and then we're going to start our knit 2 together, yarn over pattern until we get to the last 1 or 2 stitches. In this case there's only 1, so we just knit it. Row 20 is a knit all. Row 21, we're going to still do our lace pattern but not increase. So we're starting with a knit 2 together, yarn over, and we repeat the knit 2, yarn over, until we're on our last 1 or 2 stitches. In this case it's just 1, so we knit it. And then row 22 is a knit all. So basically the way the pattern works for your repeats is the first row of every repeat set you're going to knit 1, yarn over, and then do your knit 2 together, yarn over across the rest. And if there, whatever number of stitches, whether it's even or odd, will determine if there's 1 or 2 stitches left at the end of the row. So either way you would just knit those last 2 or that last 1 stitch. After an increase row, you knit all the way across. After that, you just do your knit 2 together, yarn over pattern until the last 1 or 2 stitches, which you just knit, and then you do another knit all the way across. I'll have that pop up on the screen so that you can follow along, but that's the basic repeat of the pattern that you can use to complete the whole shawl. You can increase to the length that you like, so as soon as it's the length that you want or you're out of yarn, that is where you stop. I'll show you progress when I get a little bit further into the pattern. Hello again, checking back in. I just wanted to show you what it looks like as you start to progress through this project. So I have used one of my skeins at this point. You can see this is the end that we started at, that's long and skinny, and it got progressively wider as we worked through the project. As I think I said at the beginning, I did buy 3 skeins total. I'm planning on using about 2.5 so that I have some left for fringe and tassels at the end. The other thing that I wanted to show you is that the edges of the project do curl a little bit, which I don't really mind given the shape that I was going for. I think it especially adds to the tail-like effect on the skinny end. But if that's something that bothers you, you can always block it or change your yarn or your needles in order to fix that problem so that it's a little bit looser. But this is how the pattern is working up. So it's a very simple lace pattern, and I think it so far looks really good in this nice squishy yarn. So go ahead and knit your project to the length that you want, and then I'll show you the last few steps at the end. Alright, at this point I have gotten to the length and final width that I wanted. I did use up 2 full skeins plus just a little bit of the third one because it got longer a lot faster than I thought it was going to. So that's where I chose to stop. You could probably get away with just 2 of that size skein with that type of yarn if you wanted to, but I'm going to use the third one to add some fringe and tassels, so you probably still want 3. I'm going to do a regular bind off. I did end on a knit all row, so that was the previous row that I did to kind of give me a more solid foundation for the cast off. I personally don't like doing cast off on a row that has yarn overs because I think it makes the bind off look a little bit funny, so I made sure that my final row was a knit all row. So I'm going to do a normal bind off. You can do a stretchy one if you want to. So the way you do a bind off is you knit 2 stitches and pull the first one over the second one. So I'll show you one more time. Knit 1 and then pull the first over the second. And as you go through this, you should start seeing an edge form along your piece. So go ahead and do that all the way across. Alright, at this point we're going to move on to doing the fringe. I'm only going to put fringe on the side that we just did the bind off stitch on, and I am using my stitch marker case to measure the length for my fringe. So the way that you cut fringe, you just wrap your yarn around your object as many times as you need. I tend to do it in batches because I don't like it when I have a bunch of extra strings at the end because I always end up cutting too much. And then you just cut it along one side so that then you should get a bunch of strings that are all close to the same size. The next thing that you are going to need is actually a crochet hook. So go ahead and find a hook that will still fit in between your knitted stitches. You can also just use your fingers for this if you have wide enough loops in your project, but I'm going to use a crochet hook. So all I'm going to do is take 3 or 4 strands of my fringe. I'm going to make mine a little uneven, so I'm going to pull at some of the strands so that it's not exactly the same. And I'm actually going to stick my crochet hook through, loop those 3 strands, pull it through the piece, and then loop it around and pull it back through. In order to space out your fringe, I'm actually going to use the stitches and do every other one so that it ends up going evenly across the whole thing. You can kind of see I'm choosing spots in between the 2 circles from the previous row, not circles, the 2 previous open stitches in the previous row to space them out correctly. So go ahead and put fringe all along your desired edge. Alright, once you are done with the fringe, we're going to put a tassel on the skinny end of the scarf. So I set up my measurement the same as I did when I was cutting fringe, and I just made it the width of the tassel that I want, and then cut it. And like I did with the fringe, since I want mine to be a little bit more uneven, I'm going to pull on some of the pieces until it looks a little bit more messy, because I don't want a clean line of fringe on this tassel. I want it to be a little bit more uneven. Then you're going to take out one of the strands, lay your bundle flat, put the one you pulled out under it, and tie a double knot right in the middle of the bundle, like so. That's going to be the top of your tassel. So then you're going to take another piece, chop my knot, and tie it around the whole piece towards the top where that center knot is. I actually like to knot it once and then flip it because it makes it tighter, and then do a double knot. And since this is a messy tassel, I'm not even going to trim the ends of that piece that I just put on because it blends right into the rest of the tassel. Now we're going to attach it. So I'm going to put my crochet hook through, grab both of the top string, split the top string so that there's two on either side, and then I'm going to tie it in a knot. Like that. So now I have 3 pieces of string sticking out of the top, because one was the starting thread of the yarn and the other 2 are the knot we just tied. Since I have this messy tassel, I'm just going to pull those in to be a part of the tassel, and if I can get my crochet hook through there, I'll pull it through that center band as well. If you're struggling with it like I am, you can always reach for a smaller hook, which I'm going to have to do to make this work. So I have a little one up through the middle, wrap all 3, and pull them down into the center to complete your tassel. You might need to fluff some of the pieces back up a little bit if they got disheveled during this process. But there is your finished tassel. Alright, I am modeling the finished piece just on a hanger with a t-shirt, but one way to wear it is with the point of the shawl in the back so that the long tassel drapes in the front. And the other way to wear it is with the wide end of the shawl in front to wear it more like a triangle scarf, and you still get the one draping tail with the tassel. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!